Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of KSPNtv Sports Center. I'm Josh Mechanic, and we're joined by a myriad of guests this week. We got Bob Allen, of course, the executive director of KSPN, Max Schwartzberg, the other broadcaster for the Conejo Oaks, along with myself. And we're joined by a special guest this week, head coach for the Conejo Oaks, Dave Soliz. So welcome.
Thanks for having me.
But we're going to start out by taking a look at the past week of games for the Conejo Oaks. This past week for the Oaks, they almost had an undefeated week if it wasn't for a 1-0 defeat on Sunday. But we look through it, we see on Tuesday the Oaks played the Ventura County Pirates and pitched a shutout, 6-0 victory. And then most of the Oaks players had Wednesday off, but it was the CCL showcase game. So we got to have 7 Oaks players represented that day. And Dave, you want to talk a little bit about the showcase game?
Yeah, we were represented well by the players. So every year the CCL puts on a showcase game for all the players in the league, and it's hosted at the academy, MLB Youth Academy down in Compton. Great venue, and so we go down there, and I believe, like you said, we had seven or eight. I can't recall.
8, I think 8 if you
I think it
include
was
Dom
eight.
Hellman for the Derby as
Right.
well. Yeah.
Right, 8 players participate in the game and or home run derby, and the Oaks, our players did very well. We ended up, or Tommy Kenlinger ended up being the offensive player of the game for the actual showcase game itself, and then Dominic Hellman was the home run derby champion for for the second year in a row. The Oaks have won the home run derby. So our players, in addition to that, everybody else that played in the game, they played well, so we're well represented during that game. It's a fun evening or fun full day for not only our guys but all the guys and all the players in the league to kind of come together and share some camaraderie in the dugouts with players you're normally playing against.
There was a North and the South division, wasn't there?
Correct. We were the Oaks were part of the South Division. We played the North, and I don't recall the score, but the South was
It was
victorious in the game.
7-2.
Yeah, 7-2 South victory. Yep. And then that brought us to Thursday's 12-7 Oaks victory. That one was a pretty wild game from start to finish. And then Friday, talk about wild.
Yeah.
Game couldn't even get finished after hitting the 4-hour mark. Right now we're looking at an 18-12 suspended game in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Dave, that game could have been over. The Oaks were down 18-4, but I mean, battling back, and they still have a chance to win it.
But yeah, so what we talked to the guys about after the game, well, after this is, the suspended portion of the game, was that, the unique thing about baseball, of course, is never over, right? There's no clock. So, and I did reiterate to the guys, or I did talk to the players, and I actually commended them for their focus throughout the entire game. We were down big at one point, and for our guys not to give away an at bat and not to mail it in, and we were able to come up with 8 runs there in the 8th inning to give ourselves a chance heading in the 9th inning.
Yeah, I even remember Jack Brooks saying something to me because I said something on the broadcast about the game like potentially being over when it was 12-1 late. And Jack Brooks, who was on deck, looked at me and he's like, "No, we're coming back." And that just shows the mentality your players have.
Yeah, no, that and truly the same was said in the dugout. We're down, make no mistake, we were down big even after that, 12-1. We were down even with a bigger margin, but the players just said, just keep chipping. Then in that 8th inning, you get a guy on, we get a second guy on, and then it starts to, and then you can see it, see it come a little bit more. And obviously we still have some a ways to go, but at the same time, that was nice to see our guys come back and give us, like I said, give ourselves a chance in the 9th inning.
Right. And then they carried that momentum into Friday's game with the Pirates, or Saturday's game, I should say.
Sure.
9 runs in the first 2 innings and then 17-6 victory before the bats finally did go silent yesterday. 1-0. That was just elite pitching on both sides. But
Yeah,
the Oaks fell.
both sides pitched really well. We actually, I thought we didn't score a run, of course, but I thought we had pretty quality swings. We had a few opportunities to score, and then in the 8th inning there we get our leadoff guy on and a full count. We're going to put him in motion, and had a really nice swing. Kai Caranto lines out to short. Obviously, when you're in motion, it's going to be a double play. But nonetheless, we had an early opportunity, I believe, in the second inning or third inning. And then we actually had a couple more. So I believe we ended up with 7 hits yesterday and no runs, of course.
Yeah,
But on the flip side, we pitched really well and we only gave up 3 hits, yet we gave up the 1 run. But it was another well played game defensively on the mound. We just couldn't, push one across.
right. And Max, why don't you take us through the Oaks schedule for the upcoming week? The last week of the CCL regular season.
I mean, yeah, it's been a great Oaks season like the whole summer, of course, but the Oaks, they're not going to take their foot off the pedal, I'm sure, especially with that mindset. We talked about Jack Brooks, but tomorrow, back in action after today's off day at the MLB Academy in Compton. The Oaks are still undefeated against the Barons this season. There has been a couple close games, but the Oaks have been having the commanding season series, not yet losing, so they look to kind of continue that reign. And then it's back home against Arroyo Seco on July 24th for another 4 p.m. game. And that should be another fun one for the Oaks. And then it goes right back to Orange County, who's really battling, or at home against Orange County, who's kind of battling for that final spot in the playoffs. Them and the Saints, I know they played a very important game yesterday. They're separated by about a game, so they are kind of neck and neck with the Saints. But the Oaks, of course, nice 2-game series. They were both games at home because they're not traveling back down south anymore. And then it's back away to MLB Academy on the 27th. And then they'll travel back home against the Arroyo Seco Saints. Of course, we know that there's that potential suspended game, and I believe we're not sure if that will be played. If it depends on if it matters based on the seeding. So I guess we'll have to wait. And then, yeah, Coach Soliz, you want to explain how the playoff series works?
Yeah, so the way it'll work, the North and the South are going to mirror each other. So what we do down here, they'll be doing the exact same thing up there. So the way it works is that CCL wildcard game, it'll be the 2 and the 3 from the North playing against each other, and the 2 and the 3 from the South playing against each other, with the number 1 seed in both the divisions with a bye. So the wild card game is a single elimination game, and the winner of that game will play the number 1 seed the very next day in the CCL. Actually, I think we are. Yeah, the CCL championship game. So it's the division series there, the 31st. So the 1 and the winner of the 2-3 game will play against each other in a single game, and the winner of that game will be deemed the South Division champion and the North Division champion, and then they will come together for the weekend of the 2nd through 4th there in a best-of-3 series, which will be played this year in Northern California. That has been decided. So that will rotate from what we understand this year in the North, next year in the South, and then vice versa, moving on.
Makes sense. And right now, as we can see, the Oaks would currently hold the 1 seed in the South Division. It does say that the Oaks are 20-9, but as we talked about, the Oaks are 21-9. There was a bit of a scoring snafu that's going to get fixed, so it doesn't include one of the Oaks wins on Thursday against the Sunrays. The Oaks sit at 21-9 first, ahead of the Santa Barbara Foresters, who are 20-11. And then we can see the gap between the OC Riptide and the Arroyo Seco Saints, and then another gap between them and the Academy Barons, the Pirates, and the Sunrays. Well, Dave, I had a question for you. With the Oaks confidently in first, we should mention the Foresters not playing in the South standings. So with the Oaks 4.5 games ahead of the next closest team, this week, are you going to give some starts to guys who aren't usually everyday players, or are you guys just going to keep your foot on the gas for the end of till the end of the season?
No, we're going to continue. Well, I say we're going to continue playing the way we always play, right? And that's a, so you say some guys who don't normally play, we have a good rotation of playing time, and we're going to continue that this week because we still need to win a few games. There's 2 things we're playing for here. Number 1 is the overall seed. So if you see, I guess the Riptide are slightly ahead of Arroyo, but if you take that suspended game, and play it out, let's say Arroyo wins, so they'll be tied with Orange County. So it's in essence, Arroyo and Orange County are tied.
Right.
And we are 4 games ahead of them. However, we play each of those teams twice this week. So there's no taking anything for granted. We have to win. We need to win to secure that 1 seed. And we want to win every game. So we have 6 games this week, and we want to win as many as we can. Of course, the Academy's playing really well. I believe they're on about a 4 or 5. Where is it there? It says a 1-game winning streak, but prior to that, I think they had a 4-game winning streak, beating Arroyo a couple times, beating Orange County. Then most recently they just beat Santa Barbara over the weekend. So they're playing really well. We have to go out there and play well to maintain that lead. And the second thing we want to play for is the overall best record in this, not only the South, but in the entire CCL. It's just a matter of wanting to win every game, of course. And Santa Barbara, that 2011, they're finished. They're completely finished with CCL play. They leave
Oh,
tomorrow.
okay.
Yeah, they leave
Okay.
tomorrow for Wichita, and
Okay.
so and we wish them the best of luck out there. The way it works, for standings, of course, is winning percentage. And
Yeah.
so our goal right now is to maintain a winning percentage above 645 so we can see the Canal Oaks at the top of the standings and playing well going into the playoffs, which will only help as you enter the playoffs, of course.
Right. Max, do you want to talk us through the North Division standings?
I mean, yeah, it's gotten really tight in that second and third spot. The Blues been playing great baseball. We saw that yesterday with that amazing pitching performance, shutting down an Oaks offense that leads the CCL South and OPS and a bunch of other numbers like average. But the Walnut Creek Crawdads, they still been kind of comfortably in that one spot throughout the entire season. They look to just continue to keep their foot on the pedal like the Oaks are trying to do. But I think it's really a battle for second place between the Blues and the Sonoma Stoppers. And while it's possible, I don't think the Quadas have clinched first place yet. Though, of course, every team is just trying to win every game, and it's going to be really interesting to see how those 2 and 3 seeds match up. The San Francisco Seagulls and the Alameda Merchants, they're a little bit behind, 7.5 back of first place, then 8, and then the Menlo Park Legends having kind of a really rough season, especially as of late. They've lost 8 in a row. They've had a lot of pitching problems, especially like walking guys, and they've really not been able to get anything going. Really, when they were back to 500 back a couple of weeks ago, and now they sit at 10 and 18.
Thank you, Max. And so, Coach, I got a question. Um, well, this year's Oaks team, 21-9, sitting ahead of the Foresters, and it just seems like everything's going right. It's a little bit different from last summer where it was a big grind just to make sure the Oaks got into the playoffs. And for a team that seemingly is successful every single summer, what do you see as different from this team than the previous summers?
Well, the one thing I would say that we're doing really well, and I think we mentioned this, or I mentioned this last time I was on, is we run the bases really well. And not to say that the previous teams did not, but you guys see every game and you call every game, and with it at the top of the order, led by Tommy and Brooksy at the top there, we run really well. We can turn with a man on first, a base hit into a regular first to third. We steal the top two anyways, and we run up and down the order well. From the top two, I don't know. You guys may have a better feel for this, but I believe they're probably at least combined for 30 stolen bases. So
Yeah.
you know that starts with the noticeable thing in the dugout is we run the bases very well. I think we play really good defense, and then our starting pitching has generally been very good to the point where it gives us an opportunity in the middle part of the game to stay in a game. Case in point, yesterday we give up a run the first inning, they get a man on third in the second inning with nobody out, we get out of it, and so the pitching was allowed us to stay in games, and I think that's what's been very effective for us this year. And then on top of that is the regular playing time. So you mentioned if players that play all the time, and then you have some players that maybe don't play as much. If players don't play 2 or 3 games in a row, you can't expect them to perform when it's time to get in the lineup. So what we do is we haven't had a player sit more than 2 days in a row, and I think that really has helped the overall performance of not only the individual but the team. So you get a chance to stay regular, you get a chance to stay competitive, and I think that's made a big difference throughout the entire summer. I track every at bat, I track every inning pitched, and looking at the total at bats and the total innings pitched, the playing time has been divided up pretty nicely. And I think that has a lot to do with keeping the guys not only motivated, but again, keeping them fresh and competitive when they get in there.
Right. And it makes it more difficult, but also easier to construct a playoff lineup, I'm sure, because everyone's going to be hot.
Right. So, when we get down, obviously I think I'm trying to look, have we clinched the playoff spot? I'm not sure yet, but I'm looking. I believe we have. So whether it's the 1, 2, or the 3, it looks like we're going to be in. And then during the playoffs, at that point, we'll play the players who give us the best chance to win that game.
Right. Right. Max, you got anything for
And
Coach?
it's been a really good season, Coach. Okay. in
Thank
terms
you.
of,
It's been a lot of fun, of course, and obviously it's a little more fun when you win than when you lose, of course. But nonetheless, this group of guys have been, for them to show up to the field every day. And we talk a lot about, it's very difficult to do the same thing over and over again with a good attitude and a commitment to yourself. That's not easy. And it sounds, I don't want to say it sounds simple, but you show up and you play your hard every single day. That's not easy to do, but yet we expect them to do it and they're doing it.
you got it.
100%. It definitely shows.
Thank you.
Max, you got something?
Yeah, kind of on a final note, I mean, Coach Soliz, you mentioned the base running, which is something that Josh and I have commented on really throughout the season. We've noticed it too, and I did check. It's 27 stolen bases between Tommy and Jack, at least in CCL play, not counting the Sunrays game. And we know that they played some non-conference games, so I'm sure it's well over 30. But the pitching's also been one, at least from my perspective, like amazing and like super impressive. The team has a 4.11 ERA and over 9 strikeouts per 9 as a pitching staff. Like, what have you seen just watching these guys on the mound?
Well, I'll tell you what, the starters that like I can, go on and on about them, and they've done a really nice job. But the relievers have the guys that work on the bullpen have been equally as impressive. You take a guy and they come in on a Tuesday, then they're down on Wednesday, maybe down on Thursday, come back in on Friday to be sharp. Getting back to that same boring thing, right? To be expect to go out there and stay regular and stay competitive. And it's easier to do that when they're getting regular mound time. So I think the biggest difference is we're able to control the strike zone, meaning command more than one pitch. And so far, our bullpen has done a really nice job of keeping us in games. Of course, there's going to be games where maybe the game will get away from you, or the other team has a better day at the plate. But overall, in the course of the entire summer, our pitching has been a strength.
Yeah, they definitely, as far as every time we look, they're ahead of the curve in the team lead in ERA, or the CCL lead in ERA, we should say. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of KSPNtv Sports Center. For all of us, Bob Allen, Max Schwartzberg, Dave Solis, I'm Josh Mechanic, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.